What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am joined once again with my friends Josh and Vin, and today we're going to talk about our experience thus far with Season 5 of Halo Infinite. Thus far, it's been I don't know, you guys would argue too that it's been really positive, that we had a really good time the other night in the live stream as well, and a lot of stuff has cropped up, especially for PvE since then, so.
Yeah, I feel like honestly the season is off to a really promising start. It really does seem like, I don't know if it's a direct byproduct of new management or if this is just coincidentally that all their ducks are in a row now.
Right.
But the output of content has been a lot better than it was. The content that we're getting feels higher quality. I have some nitpicks, as I'm sure you do, Josh, but overall I'd say that my feelings about the direction Halo Infinite specifically is going are relatively positive.
Definitely.
I don't know about y'all, but I feel like PvE is a game changer.
It really is, and honestly, it didn't take long when we started playing the other night. It didn't take long for me to feel that way, well, and I'm not even going to bring up other things that I'm not a fan of because it was so much fun, and it was only one game type on one level, right? So we were doing PvE, and it was on, if I'm not mistaken, it was Crow's Nest multiplayer level, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
And it wasn't even a very long, there weren't a lot of waves. It was minimal customization, and, the modes that were just available to us. It hadn't been, people hadn't had their hands on it for very long. So that was just with that little bit. I was already I wasn't satisfied yet. It was great. I had a good time. And I wanted to keep playing. The only reason we stopped was because it was late and we were tired. That's saying something. Other than MCC, Firefight modes, and other mods for campaigns of Halo games that we've been touching lately, but to have this experience on the newest Halo title, yes, it is a game changer. It's a lot of fun. It's relaxed, like we discussed before. It doesn't feel like we have to really try, which is nice because I feel like I don't have to worry about weighing my team down as a single player.
Yeah, and Halo's a party game, right? That's the whole point of it, is to have fun with your buddies. I know the ranked side of things exists, and I'm not going to trash people that enjoy that because there is a place for competitive gaming, but
I agree.
I know that we played a little bit of regular PvP when we played, and I've seen since the season came out a bunch of people talking about how balance in multiplayer still feels kind of whack, and how the matchmaking system, skill-based matchmaking, is still kind of not in a great place, where people feel like they're always getting put in games that are neck and neck and super sweaty and stuff like that.
Right.
I feel like PvE completely circumvents that. We can have challenges that still feel very all right, we can sit and chill and enjoy the game together.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly what you're saying too, and I think we might all feel the same way about this by now, especially, but the nicest thing about it is I appreciate a challenging game, but I appreciate a challenging game, and I appreciate being able to choose the pace, and what I mean by that is, well, exactly what I said. I don't want it to feel like it's going to feel like a chore. There is a place for that, like you said, and I completely understand, because if we go back far enough into the Jurassic period of Halo, I was that way around Halo 2. Yeah, I was very competitive during Halo 2, played a little bit of live. I really enjoyed it, but now I'm to the point now where I kind of like to just jump in and experience waves, and it's even more fun because, again, it's on these multiplayer levels that you never thought it would be in, but we had conversations about doing this in multiplayer levels. Oh, it'd be cool to spawn NPCs here. Oh, it'd be cool to do this. It'd be cool to do that. And that goes into the customization of it. I'm really enjoying it, and I hope that we continue to see. I know we will continue to see a lot more wave-like game types as this. PvE is fun. Right now, it's my favorite, especially with I think my favorite anything to do with Halo has to be, if it's not the campaigns themselves of the original games, then it has to be modded Firefight, and then this PvE in Halo Infinite. It's a breath of fresh air, and honestly, I'm excited to see Infinite getting some good attention. It makes me happy to see it in a good limelight, and I hope they keep riding on this because it's really good for the game and its success. And I don't want to touch too far on that point. PvE is great, like it's fun. I'm satisfied with it, and I just want to keep playing it and coming back to it. And the fact that I feel that way about Halo Infinite, it's a great feeling. Yeah.
Well, I totally agree. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like every conversation I've had about Halo with people in real life for the past 2 years has been negative, and not because I've said anything, because believe me, I, at a certain point, was exhausted with talking about Halo, even though I had my issues with Infinite. It's just the perception around the game, even among people that aren't like perpetually online, was that, oh, this is either it's a dead game or it's a game that ultimately doesn't sustain itself and doesn't have enough content to offer that's actually quality. And I mean, I think we're reaching a point now where they're on solid enough footing in regards to the technical side of the game that we're getting content that people want, and we're getting it at a steady pace, which you could talk about all day. That like, if this had been the way the game was at launch, might have saved Infinite. And the whole company, I feel like, would look very different right now if Infinite had been a success.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Ultimately, I'm really excited regarding the PvE stuff to see people do modes that have allies that are like not necessarily Marines. Like we're getting that covert or combined arms event in about a month, and the cover art for that having like friendly jackals and elites. I really hope they put something in matchmaking that has some friendly allies drop in. You drop Pod or Phantom and help you out that are like aliens, because I feel like the only time we've ever really seen that is like Halo 2, Halo 3's campaign, and recent MCC editions in Firefight where they have elites drop in and help you out on certain maps. I love that stuff. So I know you do too, Euclid.
Yeah, no, I do. It's something that I live for. I mean, if I had never experienced Xbox Live, I think I still would have appreciated the games just for that. I really like team games. I don't like lone wolf modes. I used to be really good at free-for-all and lone wolf and modes like that. But again, that was back in Halo 2, especially Halo 3 days. I just, you eventually just get busy, or you don't really want to keep up with the times or the meta or the controls or what makes you more talented. So PvE is like right up my alley. And I kind of feel like we're all that way. We're a pretty good team online, but it's just, I don't know. I feel as far as PvE is concerned, we've covered it pretty well. Like it's great, and I cannot wait to see more of it. And obviously, I can't wait to cover more of it because I want to see this game do good, especially with what they're pushing for now. New maps are looking pretty nice. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, Josh, you could probably talk about it more than I could, but like, I love the fact that we're getting stuff that looks different and looks very classic Halo. We've gotten 2 Halo 2 inspired maps in a row with Forbidden and whatever the Forest is the other one, right?
Yeah, Forest.
Yes.
Yeah. Who do I have to pray to get the Death Island remake? who do I have to ask for
the Death Island remake that leakers said was going to be in the game?
Yeah, if only. I don't know. Just keep praying and hope that some deity powerful enough to do it just happens to happen upon it. I know that you had you guys had mentioned before that things are looking better, less dull, especially in regards to, as you had put it, the UNSC interiors. So that's looking really nice.
Halo 4 and 5, I do have fond memories of both, but the maps, save for a few, veered way too heavily into that boring UNSC gray industrial look, and I feel like that's not, going back to CE, and even as far as Halo 3, that's not what made Halo maps special. I mean, the most famous Halo map is Blood Gulch,
right?
Which doesn't have any UNSC architecture whatsoever. It's a canyon with 2 bases on either end.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it holds up for pretty obvious reasons. Yeah, there's not much to say about the maps until we obviously discover more and more stuff is released. Moving on, new armor is looking pretty sweet. We like it. I think that was pretty unanimous. And also, another thing that you had mentioned, just going on what we have in front of us here, is the flood stuff, right? That's one of their biggest thing that promoted Season 5, and it was successful. There's no doubt about it in my mind that blood being the theme of this, and of the emotes, so to speak. Well, not even necessarily emotes, but when you're doing something to be able to equip that flood ability having it be more CE inspired. Yeah, like that. Like, I think this is a point that you two touch on better than me as the artist of this group. But I just wanted to throw in that it was very successful, and it's obviously why people fucking love Flood, and Flood makes people feel familiar. It unites, I would argue, a majority of the Halo community. It was a very wise marketing decision, and it's actually really cool.
I find it funny that they, part of the Flood cosmetics is they have their little lore drop that there's been at least one infected Spartan, and now all the Spartans in war games are cosplaying as Flood.
Nice.
Essentially.
Yeah, I think to a degree you have to separate the lore drops from, like, I think we've moved away now from 343 framing everything that happens in multiplayer as canon, even in a simulation setting.
Right.
Because, yeah, like, frankly, a Spartan gets infected by the Flood, horrible, terrifying thing, and all the Spartan 4s are like, yo, dope. And they just suck like him. I mean, that's
I guess you could argue that, well, I don't know. If it were actually canon, they wouldn't be doing that. They would be fighting simulations of Flood. They wouldn't be dressing up as them, so...
Right.
It's Halloween, I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's another element of why the theme works so well. It's funny that they went for the Flood theme for Season 5 when Season 4 had Infection and was criticized because the infection wasn't actually a Flood infection or any sort of, like, sickness. It was a computer virus.
Right.
And it's especially funny that Season 4 had a hazmat core. You know, hazardous materials, like a computer. That famous hazardous material.
Oh, God,
I have to
yes.
wear my hazmat suit every time I open up my computer. So, as you know.
Yeah, it would have made more sense for that to have been a party to what we've got going on with Season 5.
Oh, yeah.
The theme and everything.
I love, though, the way they look. I could definitely, I know you agree with me, Josh, I could definitely stomach some more CE-inspired Flood and some more polypy, like, gross-looking stuff. But there's been a lot of discussion about the glowy Flood on Twitter recently because people are upset with the Flood glow. And, like, I guess to an extent, I see the criticism in regards to the bright orange glow. But I feel like if you just tinted it green, I'd have less of, like, my brain would go less, you know, I've seen this in other recent zombie games, right?
Well, I liked the cutscenes that we got in Halo Wars 2 at the Flood, but I think the issue with, and I agree with the criticism as a CE fan, the bright orange glow that the new Flood had in that was a little excessive. Yeah, it was a little excessive. It, like, the CE Flood, all of them, including the combat forms, have glow, but it's subtle. The infection forms are more glowy than the combat forms, but the combat forms do have glow maps on them. There's a slight, like, greenish yellow pulse that they have.
Yeah.
And that's some people probably think that's nitpicking, but I think that the bright orange glow just takes away from the look a bit.
It does. There was no point for it to go that bold of a color. I think, honestly, I think it would. Don't get me wrong. In its own right, on its own merit, I think it looks good. The cutscenes are fantastic, and Halo Wars 2 has some of the best cutscenes in all of Halo. That I don't think that can be argued by too many people. It does have some of the best, and I loved the Banished and Pavium and Vortis' fight with the Proto-Grave Mind and how everything looked, and seeing the Forms fight with the Jiralhana. It was great, but I agree. If they get with a more sickly color, more polypy, as you said, Vin, more CE inspired would be a lot better. So, but touching on that, yeah, the Flood stuff's great. Moving on, we got the store, and as it's pretty unanimous, and you guys are more versed in the store because I'm a boomer and don't go into the store as much anymore, but I've been doing it more lately, and the store still sucks. So, if you'd like to cover why the store sucks, it's still overpriced as hell. To start it off, I'll say that. Overpriced. I have looked at that.
I'll give them kudos in regards to two main things. The first is that they heard people about the store having a lack of stuff that you could actually view in it, And I'll give them kudos that after every season is over, you can just go into the customization menu and buy stuff from previous seasons. So it doesn't feel like, oh, you missed an item and you wanted to buy it, well, now you can't ever buy it again. I give them kudos for that, with the exception that those are changes they made that still benefit them by making them more money. I think $20 blood part bundles are kind of insane, but for me, the thing that, like, I guess grates on my nerves a little more is seeing them weaponizing nostalgia with, like, the classic Halo-inspired sniper models in the store right now.
Yes.
That thing is awesome looking. And I would not mind dropping a little bit of money on that thing on its own. But the way they go about monetizing things, having everything be locked to bundles, and they're very expensive bundles, usually filled with shit. Like,
no care package doesn't come with trash, it feels like. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
I know that somebody worked hard on those models, but the point is like, that's why a lot of people don't buy things in the physical realm of stores or on Amazon or anywhere. So it's not going to be any any different within a digital market, right? Let us piecemeal it. Offer the bundles maybe at a discount, and then more people might purchase it. But offer the singular items for a blanket price that is less than the bundle by a healthy margin, and you're actually more people are going to buy things. Bundles scare people, and for good reason. Bundles have a bad reputation across literally everything when it comes to
If anybody from 343 can hear this, I have to ask, how do you think you'll get more money from like a 20 to 30 something who's responsible with their money? Do you think that they'll spend more money laying down $20 all at once for a bundle, which they will then regret and never buy anything again? Or do you think letting them buy things piecemeal, over time they won't realize they've spent more money than they should have?
Right.
Because I think the latter, from a business perspective, makes more sense. You trick people over time into spending $2, $3, $5 here and there for little things that they like.
I wouldn't even say it's a trick. Because for me, I haven't spent a dime on the store since the game came out.
Right. And
there are countless items that have been sold in bundles that I thought, oh, that'd be cool to have. But the other 90% of the bundle is crap that I don't want.
Right.
Or would never wear because I don't use those cores.
It's a weird practice.
It's not a trick, really, to allow players to buy individual items, and over time, they spend twice as much as they would, but it's all stuff that they want to use.
Yeah.
Right? I would have spent money on the store by now. The only money that they're going to get from me is for the Mark V, and that's because they have put it in the store, frankly, in my opinion, is nostalgia bait. They know people are going to buy it because it's the Mark V.
Well, they know people are going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. You're probably going to buy it. A lot of people we know are probably going to buy it. I'm going to say that completely honestly, and the Mark V kit will be the first time that I ever spend real money in the store.
Same.
Because ultimately, they're baiting me, right? And I know that. I'm fish on a hook. Now, what scares me about the Mark V thing, though, which leads into another problem, another thing I'm concerned about, is they turned the Mark VI into a kit, and they turned Mark V into a kit. I'm really scared that they're going to start releasing, like, classic characters, Euclid, as kits, so you'll get, like... They already have Blue Team's armor done, but they're going to release them as kits. So you got, like, oh, here's your Fred kit that you could buy in the store for $20. It's got his unique helmet, his shoulder pads with the knives, all that stuff. They're going to do
a lot
this
of money.
Legacy characters.
For just that, I mean, I know what it is, and that is cool, but why not like $5? And I know that sounds... No, I don't think it sounds like anything. $20 for this kit? $20 is literally a third of a game's price. That's too expensive for that item. I don't care how niche it is. It'd be too niche for the Mark V. Like, I think all three of us are getting the Mark V. That's a fact. It's a personal decision. That's what we're gonna do. But yeah, no, it's too damn expensive, and
it's not something I want to do.
Right.
And that's what's frustrating. They literally put my favorite set of armor as a paid item in the store. They've made it a kit, so there's no customization other than coatings and armor effects, which is not what I wanted. I was banking on it being an actual core for the battle pass with items that were based off of CE.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see. But now I get, like, my favorite set of armor is gonna look exactly the same as everyone else's. No, I don't get to give it any of my own personality at all.
Yeah.
Other than coatings and the effects. Which is very minimal. And actually more restrictive than cores used to be. I'll say the one benefit of the Mark V and the Mark 16 kits is that I could just pop the coating that I already like on it, and that's cool. That's great. But why? I would ask 343 is you made the promise years ago that you would debundle kits, right? You'd let us use individual items. They said that on a live stream. The words are there. They're recorded forever, right? Why can't you take the classic Mark V helmet if you paid money for it and put it on Mark 5B if you so desire? Or why can't you put CQB or EOD on Mark V body? For people that say that you want to preserve the legacy, bro, there's bunny ears in this game, there's cat ears in this game. The legacy is gone. I don't give a shit anymore if somebody makes an armor combination that looks whack. I know my own fashion sense, and I know that I could make stuff that looked good, okay? I don't give a shit about other people anymore. Straight up, especially if we're only going to be playing PvE.
Right.
For the most part, going forward, don't care. I just want to be able to customize and not be arbitrarily limited.
Yeah, it's a bad business model.
Us,
it's a bad business model. You were literally cordoning off certain items within realms of stuff. Like, if you don't allow me to, like you said, piecemeal. Like, if we can't order these things and buy these things, because here's the thing. I have no issue at all with the free-to-play model of this game, because the campaign was, that was the paid item, right? But the free-to-play multiplayer, but then you support it. I played games like that for years. World of Tanks. I've played so many different games over the years, older and newer, that support that model. And as long as I enjoy the game, I don't mind buying things to support the developers. That is where I'm okay with it. I will say that out loud. But what I'm not okay with is that I can't order these things a la carte. What if I only want to get CE related stuff inspired, or original, inspired things? Like, what if that's the only thing I want? Or what if I only want to deal with, like, very niche things from a certain time period, like Reach related, but they're not all bundled together? Or I only want to get shirt and shoulder pads and combine and mix and match them. I know what they're going to look like.
Here's a great example. Because the coding system is so bad, what if your exact color scheme is in a $20 bundle and there's no other coding?
Yeah, colors costing money is foolhardy at best.
Right. That's happened to so many people. Our friend Arden, he just got a coding that is his color scheme. For 2 years, his color scheme has not been in the game. Right. He got it, and it's a freaking Twitch drop.
Dude, yeah, that's
hey, good luck to you if you missed that. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because, like, Halo's been around for fucking ever. It's a pretty respectably aged series and community, let alone anything else. And so people have made their character. They have made their character. I'm even talking about the people that used to play as elites when it comes to the newest Halo games. They still have a color or a theme. They have their own thing that they have set. We all have. Like, our colors are all pretty much still the same as they used to be. But, like the scheme, like you said, the color scheme, losing that was horrible. Cordoning that off was horrible. And honestly, I know that this had to be discussed in a meeting. This had to have been discussed. Somebody had to have brought this up, but this was still a business model that somebody wanted to be implemented. It was a bad idea. So I think the worst part about it is definitely the store. Moving on from the store, Sandbox Items. Then you had mentioned, and I know that hasn't been much. It's been 2 years, and all we've really gotten was the Bandit, as you can hear.
Yeah, so it's actually funny, Euclid. I was meaning to mention this to you. So we're getting the that Joint Ops or the Combined Arms event. Yeah. How cool would it have been if the Combined Arms event came with the Needle Hog that was leaked before the game even came out? Because that would have been a great, like, all right, here's a sandbox item that's actually lore relevant. The UNSC and the swords are working together. it was a fan favorite vehicle in Halo 5. We know that they worked on it. It's done. Like, that would be such a great item to drop.
Right.
That's the one thing about this season. I will say it's full of quality of life improvements, but the Bandit and the Bandit Evo being the only sandbox items that are like huge sandbox items that we've gotten since launch is kind of insane to me. But Halo is renowned for its sandbox.
I'm personally less interested in equipment than like new guns and new vehicles.
Yeah.
So I would like to see the Needle Hog in particular. The Needle Hog in Halo 5 was really fun and my favorite hog to use. But a Needle Hog with an actual proper Covenant turret that has been integrated with UNSC tech would be really sick to play with. I want to see more vehicles in particular, but I also want to see classic weapon models.
Oh yeah,
that's a big thing. Classic weapon models and classic weapons, please. I know y'all want. I think there's certain weapons that we want back. I would like so many.
M60, please, as a power weapon. Do not make it a. I don't want to. That's one thing. There's a trade-off, right? So, there's a high possibility that we'll never get something like the M60 as an actual sandbox item, and they'll just make it a skin for the what do you call it?
The sidekick.
The sidekick.
Yes.
They don't function the same.
No.
For one. But like I fear that they'll do that instead, just again to put nostalgia bait in the store. Then like the MA5B for the assault rifle makes a little bit more sense to just make it a skin. We don't need like redundant assault rifles. But the Magnum is a legacy gun and it shoots explosive rounds. So I think it should remain a power weapon like it was in Halo 5 just for fun if you want it on your map.
Yeah, the AR, I mean, we've talked about this, right? If you take the AR apart, ultimately the MA5C, the MA5D, and the MA5B are all the same gun with different parts. Right. The sidekick is a different pistol to the Magnum entirely. So while I would love to see some attachments and that would ultimately that'd be satisfying for me, it's not the M60. I feel like even bigger examples too, like the classic shotgun. The Bulldog's not even the same gauge of shotgun.
Yeah, you can't replace it. It needs to actually be a different weapon.
Close quarters combat weapon. Here's the thing, the Bulldog, once I figured out that the damn thing was actually semi-automatic with held down, thank you both for teaching me.
Makes a big difference.
It was a decent gun, but it's still weak. It's arguably still a very weak weapon that most people are going to choose to avoid. Instead, they're going to choose some kind of marksman's weapon. I would choose a pistol over the Bulldog because the Bulldog just doesn't hit. Like, bringing back not only a classic weapon model, like it needs to be an entirely new weapon model. And honestly, I would argue bring back one. You could also make a power weapon out of Halo CE shotgun because it was fucking devastating.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I'm kind of putting two and two together. Weapons and vehicles also have kits. I wonder if they could, because the new armor kits completely changed the look of it. Would you take something like the what's their plasma weapon in Infinite called? Is it the plasma carbine? Pulse carbine?
Yeah.
Pulse carbine.
Yes.
Could you take that and use a weapon kit to replace it with the plasma rifle?
I don't think so because different animations and stuff.
Animations? Yeah.
Because the armor kits work because every armor uses the same rig.
Okay. So I was going to say, while stuff like the classic shotgun and the M60 are a must for me, I feel like the Covenant Banished Arsenal is what's really lacking in like classic weapons that fulfill specific sandbox roles. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I feel like the carbine could work really well in Infinite. I feel like I miss the plasma rifle a lot.
Me too. Carbine was my favorite marksman's weapon in Halo.
Yeah.
Absolutely it was. It was a great, not necessarily a counter, but a great counterpart to the battle rifle.
Do they have the Covenant Sniper?
The beam rifle?
Which Covenant?
The beam rifle.
Oh no, they don't. There's no beam.
I know that they have the
Stalker rifle.
The Stalker rifle, but it's not the same.
No,
I think that
beam rifle was a great.
There's a lot of Covenant weapons that need to be added.
Now, I know some people would argue redundancy, like if you have the Stalker rifle, doesn't it invalidate the beam rifle? But if the future of Halo is like community-made PvE content, who cares? It's
right.
Well,
that's what I say to this. Like, yes, there is redundancy when you're talking about just playing regular multiplayer or pro gaming, anything like that. But when you're talking about a game that they, before launch, told us is the future of Halo, the next 10 years, and now you have all this PvE content being added, redundancy doesn't matter anymore because it's just fun to be able to use your favorite weapons in PvE content.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the amount of people that want Battle Royale stuff in Halo, I don't know if those are the kinds of people that argue redundancy, but I just don't see the downside of having all the best classic weapons back that might fulfill roles that already exist.
Right. No.
They're not going to put that in competitive play.
No,
you know,
not.
They'll have a set weapon rotation for competitive, and they'll do the same thing in regular playlists, and then you'll have access to stuff for Forge.
Yeah, and
I don't see downsides to that.
Well, the thing too is like a lot of what gets sold and what gets presented and what gets pushed usually does revolve, not all of it, but a lot of it does revolve around like the pro gaming community. However, I would argue that this season 5 definitely more so appeals to everyone but that. And to kind of bring it up to a head and close things off, you know, overall this is great. The gripes we have are just critiques to make it to a way that I know it could be better, to be more accessible, especially to people that financially, you know, can't afford such expenditures. And so they just need to be careful and they need to be aware of that. Like, they're not the only developer doing it either. CA is doing that too with Total War, with all of their DLC and stuff. And I bought one that everybody hates and I love it, but that's because it's very niche to me. So it definitely is relevant here. And, you know, it's kind of like we discussed before. The game's doing well. You had mentioned, Vin, that, you know, it's hitting its peak player count since it launched, you know, in over 2 years. But they need to keep doing things on the head that they're doing now. Their strategy now, they need to do it now. They need to continue doing it with new things, not just right off of the bridge of the flood. Continue to add to the flood while it's, you know, whilst it's convenient and whilst it's not too much of a detriment to their next release. But their next release needs to do this and then some. They need to keep traction going and slowly build a momentum. But they definitely got a good start with this. And, you know, you'd also mentioned operations. So seeing how that would pan out, if you'd like to add anything else on that. But overall, my thoughts about Season 5 are great. And I just want to see them continue to do this and to continue to listen even more. So...
I think we've definitely upgraded, because if somebody had asked me a year ago, would I recommend Halo Infinite, I would have said no. And if someone asked me right now, I would say give it like a month, and then I'd say it's great. It's a good time to jump in. I only say that because I think it's important to wait until all the major creators like have their stuff out, and Firefight King of the Hill will be in matchmaking within the next month or so, and I think that's having a PvE mode in matchmaking is going to be a big thing, because for us it's just going to be like, all right, everybody will squad up, jump into Firefight King of the Hill, etc., etc.
Right.
So I'm really jazzed about where the game's going, and I think that ultimately what we're talking about is stuff that, like, we needed, all this other shit needed to be resolved before we could start talking about this. And now we can be like, hey, let's get the plasma rifle, let's get all this classic stuff into the game.
Yeah.
Because the game is in a good enough state now that it can handle content. Like gameplay changing content.
Yes.
Yep. Make things more accessible in the store as well, and you'll have a great way to finance the continuation of this kind of work. But make it a la carte or piecemeal, as Vin said, and you're going to have more purchases. It's a proven fact that when you break down people's ability to buy just what they want or just what they need, they might even be more inclined to support you more because of that option. I know this is somebody that has purchased many things in his life. So you know, I just think that overall it's good, and they just need to keep it up. So yeah.
Yep. Completely agreed.
All right, well, that's pretty much our coverage, guys, on Season 5 and what we like and what we don't like and what we think could be improved. Let us know down below. Let's get a discussion started in the comments section. What do you guys like about Season 5? Have you played it yet? Do you even care about Halo anymore? You probably should. Honestly, this update, this season, they're worth your time. If you were disappointed in the past, I say give it one more try with this one. I genuinely mean that, and I think the devs have done a good job, and I want them to be rewarded for when they do things right, because that's the only way we can, as the community, actually help them. It's not about dogging on them, it's just about telling them what's good, what's bad, and being honest. So, all in all, Season 5 is great, and we look forward to what we see in the future. So on that note, thank you to our channel members, thank you to our patrons. If you guys have not subscribed to the channel, I do recommend it, and definitely check out a link to the Discord channel. All of the information for social media will be down in the description below. You all have a good day, and we'll catch you all in the next video.